Welcome to Hadoop course from Way to Learn. If you want to learn Hadoop from basics to advanced level, with practical examples, you are at a right place. Thanks for choosing Way to Learn. Let us get started with our first topic, big data and introduction to Hadoop. Before we start the course, a brief introduction about the instructor, myself. I am Shiv Prasad. I am a Cloudera certified developer for Apache Hadoop, Spring Source certified instructor. I do deliver all certified courses from Spring Source like Core Spring, Enterprise Spring, Hibernate with Spring. I am a MuleSoft certified instructor. I deliver all the certified MuleSoft courses. I am a Spring Source certified enterprise integration specialist, and also I am an Adobe certified expert on Flex. I have total of 11 years of experience in development and training. I have earlier worked for companies like Motorola, Alcatel-Lucent and Tech Mahindra. You can reach me on siva@waytolearn.co.in. That's brief about myself. Let us get started with the course. First, we will try to understand what is big data. The agenda of this video is to understand about what is big data, why big data is useful, what are the traditional problems we face while processing big data, and how big data technologies like Hadoop can help us in solving those issues. And starting with introduction of Hadoop, we will see the basic parts of Hadoop like HDFS and MapReduce, and we will finally end up with why Hadoop. Okay, so let us get started. What is big data? Big data is nothing but huge amount of data that exceeds the storage and processing capabilities of a single machine. What do I mean by it? Suppose if you have a file of say 100 GB size, will you be able to process the data present in 100 GB file using a single machine? Yes, of course, you can process 100 GB using single machine, but the processing will be slow. So what we want is, we want parallel processing of bulk data, right? So there are some technologies like Hadoop which can help in that. But is this big data a framework? What is it? No, big data is not a framework. It is just a term used to identify huge amount of data that exceeds the storage capability and also the processing capability of a single machine. Okay. If you want to characterize, if you want to say that the data whatever you have is big data, it should be in extra large volume, and the data which you have might come from variety of formats and variety of sources, and the rate at which the data is growing should be very fast. Then only you can term your data as big data. So these are the three important characteristics of big data: volume, velocity and variety. As you know, as the name says, a big, the data has to be in huge volumes if you want to say your data as big data. And also the velocity should be very high. The rate at which the data is growing should be very high, and it should support your data can be of variety of formats. When I say variety, your data can be a structured data like the data in databases. The data in database, that means tables, have structure. So the data can be a structured data, as well as semi-structured data like XML, or it can be an unstructured data. So whenever you are terming your data as big data, data can be of any format like structured or semi-structured or unstructured. That's fine. We understood that what is big data. Big data is just a term used to identify huge amounts of data which is beyond the processing and storage capabilities of a single machine. But what can we do with this big data? Yes, the very good thing is we can do analysis of big data. Let me show you a simple example of how a big data looks like. I have a file with me. Let me show you. I have a file called as access log. See what is the size of this file? Around 500 MB. Normally big data means it is not in MBs, it will be in GBs, terabytes or even petabytes. Right now, for just showing you how a big data looks like and what all you can do with big data, this is a simple example. This file is nothing but access log of a web server. So the logs are containing the IP from which the request is coming, the date and timestamp when the request came, and what is the request for which URL, status codes and length. Now one requirement is I want to analyze how many requests are coming from a particular IP in a day. There might be some spammers who might be spamming my website. If I can identify that there are a lot of requests coming from a particular IP, I can block the request coming from that IP. So that is one use case if I can analyze these log files. And also by analyzing these log files, I want to find out what is the best time for taking my server down. If you take an example of good applications like eBay, every application might require some downtime. Is it not about eBay, but just any application may require some downtime for performing some maintenance activities. So if they want to perform some maintenance activities in daytime where there might be a lot of requests coming, they might lose the business. So what is the best time for taking the system down for maintenance? A time where they are getting very less number of requests. So if I can analyze this file and find some time where very less number of requests are coming, that is the best time for getting the system down for maintenance. So that is another use case. Like this, analyzing data can give a lot of advantages. Okay, I'll tell you about other use cases as well. Let me go through the presentation. Okay, so if you see what are the use cases of analyzing big data, one very good example can be next product to buy recommendations. Hope you might have bought some products on some sites like eBay. If you buy one product, after you purchase that product, they'll give you some recommendations on next product to buy. How do you think are they able to give the recommendations? It's all because of analysis. The users who bought the same product earlier from their site might have bought some other products. So they will analyze the products bought by the customers after they bought the current product, and they'll give such products as recommendations. This is one very good example of analysis of big data. And also advertising targeting. Have you ever wondered how Google AdSense works? Suppose on my machine, if I browse for Hadoop, if I Google for Hadoop today, from tomorrow I'll be getting, whenever I visit any site, where Google ads are displayed, I will get only Hadoop related ads. How? What Google will do is, using the browsing history of the target website, the most relevant advertisements are shown. So again, advertising targeting is also done by analyzing big data. Okay. Price targeting. Suppose if I am launching my new product, let's assume bank is introducing a new insurance product. What is the best price that they can put so that their insurance get sold? By analyzing various logs which they have, by analyzing social media posts, and by analyzing some data, they'll be able to identify what is the best price for their insurance. By analyzing say how the health trend of the people is present nowadays, what are the probability of diseases in a particular location. Based on such information, they can give the insurance quotations. Another example is identifying the best time to perform maintenance based on usage patterns. This we have already discussed. You might wonder, in which areas is this big data used? Big data is used in almost all the areas like healthcare, security, traffic control, manufacturing, sales, telecom, and trading analytics, and search quality. These are all the areas in which big data analysis is useful. Okay, so now you understood what is big data and what is the use of analyzing the big data. That's fine. I don't like talking more theory. I will talk more about big data and its uses through examples later. Now let's jump into the next topic. What are the problems with traditional computing till now? Till date, or till few years recently, we used to process relatively small amount of data, and to process small amount of data, processing speed has to be high. So for decades, the primary push was to increase the computing power of a single machine and also increasing the memory like RAM. But nowadays, as the volume of data is very huge, as the volume of data is beyond the processing and storage capabilities of a single machine, we need some way of distributed processing. Let us see how we can achieve. Even before seeing how we can achieve, if you see any typical distributed system, it will look like this. The data, if it is huge, we won't store it on our machines. We will store it inside something called as storage area network. Now the application servers will be, application servers or database servers or mail servers will be having some code. Whenever they want to process data, the data has to travel from SAN till the application server. Okay, then the computation is done on the application server. Now the processing is very fast. My application server, my servers are very fast, the processing can be done very fastly, but now the problem is getting the data up to the processor is a big headache, is a bottleneck, right? So that is the problem with typical distributed system. So if you take a quick calculation, if the disk transfer rate is 75 MB per second, which is very high, the time taken to transfer 100 GB of data to processor will be approximately 22 minutes. So 22 minutes for processing 100 GB of data is not acceptable. we need a new approach. What is a new approach? Yes, Hadoop can help you. What is Hadoop? Hadoop is a is a framework that allows for distributed processing of huge data sets using clusters of commodity computers. Very simple, don't worry about the definition. So Hadoop is a framework which allows for distributed processing of huge sets of data using simple programming model. That's all. You'll understand, you'll gain in understanding about what is Hadoop going on further. So in Hadoop there are two core components. The first one is HDFS, which is nothing but Hadoop distributed file system used for storage, and MapReduce engine, which is for processing. First, let us try to understand HDFS, Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, before understanding what is HDFS, HDFS stands for what? Hadoop distributed file system. Before we understand about Hadoop distributed file system, let us understand about file system. In our operating system also, if you are using Windows, you have NTFS or FAT32, right? Or if you are using Unix based machines, it can be like ext3, ext4, etc. These are the file systems. Now I have a simple question. Suppose if you are having a file of say one size 1 MB, do you think 1 MB data is stored on contiguous locations on your hard drive? No, exactly. In hard drive is logically divided into some blocks of size 512 KB. Again, this size 512 KB is dependent on operating system. Let's assume 512 KB right now. Now, your hard drive is logically divided into blocks. If you are trying to save 1 MB file onto your operating system, what happens is this 1 MB is broken into 1024 into 1024 kilobytes into 1024 kilobits by 512. So this number of blocks, your 1 MB file is broken into this number of blocks and it is stored inside your hard drive. And the information about the locations of this block is stored inside your file system like NTFS or ext3 or ext4. So the file system is basically responsible for storing the block locations, or we can say the metadata about the file. What is a file name, file attributes, what are the locations of the blocks of each file are maintained by file system. Let's assume that you already have 1 MB file on your file system, and if you are opening the file using say Notepad, what happens? The Notepad will contact the file system and get the block locations of this file, read the data from all the block locations and show it to you in the Notepad. So that is at the low level. Everything is taken care by the low level things. Hope now you got understanding about what is a normal file system. In normal file system, the file is broken into blocks and blocks are stored on your hard drive. Now let us try to understand what is a distributed file system. Distributed file system also is similar to file system, but the blocks are not stored on a single machine. The blocks are stored in a cluster of machines. What is a cluster? Cluster is nothing but a combination of nodes, combination of machines performing similar action. So if I have a file of size say 640 MB in distributed file systems like Hadoop, the file is divided into 10 blocks and the block size is 64 MB. So 640 MB is divided into 10 blocks, and 10 blocks will be stored randomly on all the nodes, and the distributed file system will be maintaining the data about the location of each of the node. For clarity, let us assume that I have a file of size say 100 MB. 100 MB file will be divided into two blocks. One block B1, I'll say, of size say 64 MB, and another block say B2 of size 36 MB. And assume that the block 1 is stored on node 1 and block 2 is stored on node 6. The metadata, like what is the location of each block, what is the, so these blocks, block 1 and block 2 will be stored on different nodes. The metadata about these blocks, like where is the location of block 1 in which node and where is the location of block 2 in which node, is maintained by the Hadoop, by the distributed file system. And a distributed file system given by Hadoop is nothing but HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File System. Okay, now you got understanding about what is Hadoop Distributed File System. Let me talk about a simple scenario. If somebody wants to, if you want to read this file, say a.text, which is of size 100 MB, what should happen? First, your program should contact the file system and get the block locations and read the data from all the blocks. That's how it should happen. But assume a scenario where block 2, the node on which block 2 is present, is down for some time. Will you be able to access this a.txt? No. That means the file is lost, the content of the file is lost. So generally in distributed file system, the probability of failure of one of the node is high. So we replicate the blocks with a replication factor of 3. In Hadoop distributed file system, the default replication factor is 3. That means block 1 is replicated on 3 nodes, here, here and here, and block 2 is replicated on 3 nodes. So each block is replicated thrice. Suppose if this node 6 on which block 2 is present is down, still block 2 is present in 2 more nodes, so our file is not lost. And after some time, when the file system finds that this node 6 is down, what it will do is the file system will replicate the blocks present in node 6 under any other blocks. So it will definitely maintain a replication factor of 3. So you won't see any loss of data. So that's how the distributed file system works. Now you might be having some questions like, what if the file size is 40 MB only? I have a file of size 40 MB, but the default block size in HDFS is what? 64 MB. Will it occupy 64 MB? That might be your question. No. It will occupy only 40 MB. You don't need to worry about wastage of memory. It will occupy 40 MB only. Okay. And your next question might be, what if a node on which the block is stored is crashed? Just now we understood that each block is replicated by default with the replication factor of 3. So if one of the node is crashed, the data is present in other nodes, so the data is not lost. How is data processed by a program if data is present on different nodes? This might be your next question. Let me explain you. I'll go to a previous slide. Let's assume that file name is a.txt, okay, and it is of size 100 MB. Assume that the replication factor right now is 1. There are 2 blocks, block 1, block 2. Just assume that replication factor is 1 to make your concepts clear. Now what I want to do is, I want to write some program which will analyze the data present in both the blocks. In Hadoop, we use something called as MapReduce program. We'll see what is MapReduce program next. What we do is we write a MapReduce program and submit my program to the Hadoop cluster. So once I submit my Hadoop job or MapReduce job to Hadoop cluster, what happens is the jar file or the file which contains the program is transferred to the nodes in which my blocks are present. So the jar file is transferred to both these nodes and the program will execute on a node in which the block is present. So program is transferred to here and program is transferred to here. These programs will act on the local data, right? So in distributed processing like Hadoop, if you are using for distributed processing, the program will be transferred to the place where data is located. But whereas in traditional systems, what was happening? The data was somewhere on the SAN. Whenever the data has to be processed, the data is transferred to the location where program is residing, which was too costly. But now the scenario is reversed. The program is transferred to the place where data is residing and the program will execute on the local data. The output will be again, the output of these blocks will be again returned to the file system from where the client application will be able to read the result. So that's how processing happens in distributed file system. Okay, let's go next. Okay, another question might be like, let's assume that access log file is 100 MB. It is divided into two blocks of size 64 MB and 36 MB. That's okay. So let's assume that this is the whole file, just to make you understand, and it is divided into 64 MB and 34 MB. This is 64 MB, assume this is 34 MB, right? Now assume that the last line of 64 MB, half of the line goes to first block, half of the line goes to second block. When the program is executing on first block, if it has to analyze the last line, how does it analyze? That might be your doubt. So what happens is the MapReduce engine in Hadoop will take care of reading the line from another block. Okay, so MapReduce engine will take care. Internally inside Hadoop, there are something called as record readers. Record readers, they will identify that half of the line, half of the record is inside another block. They will find out the next block and will try to read the data from the next block. We need not worry, the MapReduce engine will take care. So this point will come again in detail. We will be discussing. I will show you practically how these record readers work. Okay, so hope your questions, all your questions are answered. So now once we understood what is distributed file system, let us try to understand why HDFS. Suppose if you are not using HDFS, you are having a single machine. If you have a traditional, if you are doing traditional processing, you have a single machine, one server. Assume that the server has 4 IO channels and this each IO channel supports 100 MB per second. If you want to process 1 terabyte of data using a single machine, it requires 45 minutes. But if you are using a distributed file system like HDFS, you might be working with cluster of nodes. You will not be working with single server, you will be working with cluster of servers. So assume that you have a HDFS, and in HDFS you have 10 servers, and each server, if it is having 4 IO channels, there are 40 IO channels which can read 100 MB per second. So 1 terabyte file can be processed parallelly in 4.5 seconds. That is the reason why HDFS data can be processed parallelly in less amount of time. Okay. So in Hadoop cluster, we have two parts. One is HDFS layer and another is MapReduce layer. We will discuss about this Hadoop cluster in detail in our next video. So in this video, you got understanding about what is big data and why big data is used. What is Hadoop? In Hadoop again you understood what is HDFS. We'll learn about some more details of Hadoop cluster in our next video.